There you go.
Yes,
All right. Is it big enough for everybody? Because I got a really mini tiny screen. So happy Friday, everybody. Today is February 5th, 2021 in the time of COVID. This is MVP Office Hours and I'm co-hosting with Taco. He's talking in the background. I'm Joy Shutters-Helbing and we've got Dale Ziegler here also. You can find us on the Twitters and you can also email us at what is it called? The email address, mvpofficehours@gmail.com. Is that where we're at?
mvpofficehours@gmail.com.
Okay. And on Twitter at MVP Office Hours. That's where you can find all of the registration links that come through and updates and recordings. We posted all there too. Also in the Success community. Now, moving on, we have some events coming up. On the list. We've got all events by Salesforce link and then the customer success event calendar. We also have, let's see, we've got Trailhead events coming up, Salesforce and community led, and then upcoming Dreaming events. Salesforce World Tour is coming up next week. Is everybody ready for that? I'm so excited to see what they do.
Well, and even before the World Tour on the next slide, that top link, the all events by Salesforce, I was just clicking on there, and there's some really good ones for admins coming up here in the next few weeks. Essential habits for new admins, some security reviews.
All right, let's get to it. There's some more stuff coming up then. Hold on.
Well,
Don't jump the slide.
I didn't put any details on those other ones. I just happened to click over there and said, go check out that link.
So the London's Call-In is going to be virtual. Dream Olay is going to be virtual. And then all 2021 Salesforce events are all virtual. Has that been announced? Wow.
I don't know if it's officially announced, but I mean, if you listen to your gut, it makes sense.
It makes sense. So the other thing is you can join a Trailblazer group, any Trailblazer group, and you can sign up for our meeting invites by going to trailblazercommunitygroups.com. And the quick doc is embedded in the slide deck also. Do we share the slide deck, Dale?
Yes, we do share the slide deck, and I'll make a quick announcement on Kansas City. Our next meeting is next week, and we have a local presenter talking about the power of checkbox formula fields and driving process from there. So if anybody wants to see something on that on Thursday, go find me in Kansas City or find me directly.
Nice. So our next slide, we talk about the new improved Salesforce World Tour 2021 live series that's coming on next week. So if you have time in your schedule or, gaps in all of your Zoom calls, we would love to find out. We'd love to see you there. I doubt it'll be easy to see if anyone else is there in this group, but love to see and hear everyone's feedback when we come back around to this. All right. We also have, is Carlos on? Is Carlos on? Carlos? No, he's not on. All right. So we also have Global MVP Office Hours, EMEA and Portuguese, which are the last Thursday of the month. And we are first and third Friday of the month, generally speaking, unless there is a fifth week in the calendar or if there's a holiday that kind of interrupts everything. You can find EMEA_MVP on Twitter, and you can find the Portuguese at MVPOH Portuguese on Twitter. And the important thing to know about the Portuguese Twitter is you don't have to speak Portuguese to participate. Carlos translates in both directions, so that huge learning experience.
And Spanish as well.
Oh, there you go.
You throw Spanish in there too.
Love it. Rules of the road. So we like to welcome everybody. Is an open question and answer format. You're all aware of the registration link because you're here. And then the recordings are available on the community, on Twitter, and then on YouTube is where they're stored. Our favorite hashtags are problem solve together, community learner, and MVPOH. Remember to mute yourself. We want to hear from everybody. We don't just want to hear about your problems, but we want to hear about your solutions too. And so if you have experienced something that someone else is going, oh no, about, please jump in. And when you ask questions, raise your hand in the chat or, put a question in the chat, announce yourself and share your screen. Now, when you share your screen, Dale will talk to you about this in detail if I miss anything. But only share your screen if there is not production information. We don't want to share any of your production information with the world because we are being recorded. And if you wish to not be recorded, it's time for you to say goodbye and view the recording later. But do not show us your production environment, please. Sandboxes only. Developer orgs are better. There's no data that we can expose accidentally. Did I miss anything, Dale?
Nope, you got it.
Got it all.
And we'll
All
have
right.
the recording up either this evening or this weekend.
Yeah. And then last but not least, I forgot. Do we have any other MVPs on the call? Oh, we got Gina. We got Dale.
I saw Stu.
We got Stu. There's Stu. Who else? Who else? Okay. It's good to see everybody. But as Dale will always say, we're all MVPs here because we're all putting out our best efforts and we're proud of you. So who's going first, Dale?
So first things first, if you were on our last call a couple of weeks ago, Andrea had posed a question about needing to follow up on service cases with emails like every single day. Do we have an answer? Do we have an answer? Do we have an answer? She'd started a flow. We pulled back into time-based workflow. We pulled back even further into entitlements and milestones. She sent us an email with, no, not email. It was in the success group that some new requirements in there. Towards the end, she found a limitation on entitlements and milestones, which, you know, as awesome as out of the box functionality is to try to cover those things versus going straight to even declarative custom automation, you always got to be mindful of limitations, and she found one. So she's not on the call now to speak to it, but for anybody who was paying attention to that, maybe has had a similar use case, we'll have it was from the last call. We'll have this answer in the deck here to share out. And you know, we got a loop closed. It's not great that we need to go into building our own automation, but you know, we tried. So
Wow, 10 milestones is the limit, huh?
yeah, if you need 10, you've got a lot going. So 20, even more. So right, E for effort.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's amazing. That's amazing. So after Andrea, what do we have going on here?
We have Marty.
Marty.
It's me. Hello. So this is my issue. I have a custom object that I'll call field visit. And in that object, there is a lookup for the account. And what I want it to add was the ability to create a case from this custom object. And you know how you always have a thing that gets you every time? So for me, it's actions. And I see the new case button on the page layout, but it does not appear. So the question is, what am I missing? And I can show this.
All right,
I have it in a total fake demo system. If you want to give me the,
let's see it.
Click share screen. Okay,
yeah.
Here I go, share screen. Here I am. So does everyone see my?
Yes.
All right, so here's my custom object. So this all fake. So I have custom object, I have details, and in my buttons, I have all these buttons. I will go to my page layout. I have my page layout. I go to, I've already done the little click here. You see new case. If I click on mobile actions, you see new case. And of course there's duplicates, which always makes life good, but this first one is not the right one, I don't believe. So I use this one. I have new case here, but it does not appear. What am I missing?
Have you put the other new case in there? Are you sure that's not the right one?
So absolutely not, but we'll try again. The answer is yes, but let's try again because I always agree. That's always I'm going to close this up and do this again because.
Are you looking for the related list? Did you add that to it?
So I had in my real life. Let me confirm I did, maybe didn't hear, but here's my field thing. Make sure I still don't have that button. So I go back to setup.
Oh, are you using the lightning page, the lightning?
Yeah, you
record
have to
page?
edit your lightning page.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
what you're suggesting is to go to edit page from here?
yeah. But it's,
Yes.
yeah, so you're saying I need to put hold on. Because this is a fake, I close this up
Yeah, you'd have to click on the highlights
Related.
panel
here.
up there.
Yeah.
Yep. And now it should tell you how many buttons to be visible. Change
Okay.
that to 10 maybe.
Okay,
Right, they're not hiding there, so that's
So it's
yeah,
not the hiding issue.
right,
right.
because when I
It's not
click on
in
it,
it's not
It's just
in the
not there at all.
drop down
Okay.
menu at all.
right, right.
y- Is it's not the compact layout because that's just the field, that's the field data that's displaying.
Right.
I run into this all the time and then I don't remember how I like untangle myself.
Okay, we can move on to the next person. I'll play around with it, and if anyone else has a suggestion.
No,
you see
the thing is, like I
How many of you are searching for this right now is what's I want to know.
Right, and I put in feed tracking because I did my Google search too.
Yeah.
is it visible in Classic at all?
Oh,
Good-
I
that's a
never
good
think of doing that. Let's see. Good question.
and Sarah Pilzer is asking some good questions in the chat too about possible solutions.
Is it in the chatter component, right?
Switch to classic.
Isn't it nice to know that we all run into this and we don't have all of it?
Yeah,
at the tip of our fingers.
So what I was gonna
All
say,
right, so I'm gonna go to field visit.
I'm trying really hard not to get on my soapbox on
This-
a recorded line, but here we go. This should be easy. That's what Lightning was supposed
Right.
to be easier, and yet from the ease factor, we took a step backwards with things like this.
So click on show feed in the upper left of the record. Do we get in the more button? Do we get it here?
No,
That's what Sarah was hoping for, right? In the chatter.
This is Ernesto. I think you should try to do it in the page layout from the Lightning interface.
in the page layout from the.
Yeah, so
Lightning
when you have the
interface.
record up, go to the, edit page. And then from there, you have the layout on the right side.
You know, and I'm also wondering, does this need to be more of a global action and not a field visit action?
Yeah, sorry.
Well, but if you're trying to run it from context of a specific record,
Right, that makes so
That
much
would-
sense.
well, they couldn't do that globally.
Click on field visit layout. I think from there you have to do it.
Yeah, so this is where I was. So it's here, and both of them are now here in my mobile actions, new case.
So why is this doing this?
Well, this makes me feel so much better though.
Can you go,
That I
can you
have all
show
these
us,
experts.
can
You
you
have to
show us
put
the
it-
action that you created?
Can you? Yeah.
I think you have to put in the quick actions, don't you?
Yeah, click
There's a
override.
new.
Yep. Okay.
So I need this,
Yep.
Right, new action.
but then why is it giving, this is where I say, all right,
It's not
And-
intuitive.
so create a record, no. So what am I doing here? I want a case.
Because so your case
It
is
needs
not
to be
a child
yeah.
of
Mhm.
you haven't
Correct.
created- yeah, so that's why actions are only going to leverage object relationships that you've put in place, and or it's a global action, which global action I think you lose context of any records.
Right.
But I'm always very, very, very leery about taking a standard object and making it a child of anything. That's some very
Right.
treacherous waters there.
Because, right, so I've told them they can create a case from the account, which would make sense,
Mhm.
because I've got account as a lookup in here.
Mhm.
Right, I agree with you. That's why I didn't do that.
I-
All right,
I think
That's-
probably your safest, if you needed to make it into a button, and the ability to do that is you might be looking at a screen flow.
oh, yeah, not worth it. Okay, all right, thank you, everybody. I'm glad it's,
Can you quick go back to your plain old page layout?
I
Just for
can't,
1 second. I want to. Because I found mine. Okay, thank you.
uh-huh,
I can't help.
yeah,
Sorry.
that's okay. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah,
No worries.
so it really comes down to the relationship of the request and the case and the
Yeah.
field visit. So um
Okay,
blasted Marty.
thank you.
Stumping us all the time,
And I-
aren't you?
So I have another one if you can come back to me if we still have time at the end. Thank you.
All right. Dale, who's up next?
Christy Acosta with a flow question.
Okay, so I wanted to learn, I'm new to Flow, but I made my first Flow and it works. The downside is now that I'm getting like, kind of like delusions of grandeur. I want to create another path within my Flow. And I guess I should probably ask what one of those MVPs always said, should you create a new path in the Flow?
Guilty.
So maybe that's the thing. But bottom line, okay, so imagine and this is even worse, it's on a person account. So we're looking at the account object. So contacts don't really matter, but so consider this is an account. And on that field, there's a required field called primary wealth advisor. I want that to always match the record owner because it drives personalization. And I got it to work whenever you change that field, it will always work. And also if you create a new field and it's created by somebody who's not a primary wealth advisor, it still works. Now, this is where I wanted to learn. In formulas, is there an equivalent to is changed and is new in Flow? Like how do you trick it in the criteria and a decision step to be able to do that? I was reading through some articles and I thought you could use was set is the same as is changed, and true global value equals true. Does that sound right?
That's a whole lot of newness coming to Flow, just given like using flows as triggers and all of that, which I have not had the chance to play with. If it's a process builder going into a flow, there's some steps on the back end that basically loses the context of is changed versus is new when you go from process builder to flow. So you got to get creative on the process builder side. Do you have anything that you can show us just to give us a little bit of a visual?
Yeah.
See, Raji says record.prior value is going to be out soon. And then Sarah Pilzer posted an article from accidental coders sf.com.
You wanted to say accidental admin. I wanted to.
I was reading it, and because the way it wraps, I'm like, what am I reading?
Okay, so I share my screen. Share. Not that one, but this one. All right, so let me show you, first of all, the record itself. Maybe I should just show you the flow. Does that make sense? Show you the flow.
Sure.
All right, so here's my flow. And the path that's on the right works so far. And I figured I gated my records pretty carefully in terms of making sure only when those things don't match will it go down the path. And I also gated it according to profiles of the owners and all that stuff. Anyway, existing owners. So that anyway, bottom line, I'm at this point that I want to decide if the record owner is changed. And then I also want to see, can Flow recognize who the user is? Like, can it see that I'm a system admin? If no profile? Okay.
No, sorry. Go ahead, finish up.
I was wondering if I could set something where, user profile name is CEO, where like, that means that system admins only have that can you gate it by, can it see who's making the change?
Yeah. Number of questions in there. So as you go through a flow like this here, by it not being a triggered flow, I think you've already lost your context of if anything has changed. Salesforce is no longer looking at what has changed, what hasn't, is it new?
Oh, okay. Okay. Now this is launched by a process builder.
Right. And so
That loses context. Oh, okay. Okay.
So that's where you could play in the process builder criteria of, is this new or is it not? Is a value changed or is it not? But you're definitely not going to get that in the flow side of things.
Okay, because I did do that. So I did do that right, and it seems to work. So let me just go here and show you my process. Maybe that might help.
And Sarah, your question about the dollar user variable, I think so, but there are elements of process builder and flow that are going to run in context of the system user. But I think it's in terms of permissioning and field level security and CRUD and all that kind of stuff. But I think it can recognize who the user is that's doing the thing to get that variable and or to get the ID and all that kind of stuff. Okay.
Okay, so there I'm using here is the is new here and is changed.
Mm-hmm.
And then is changed. This is that second pathway that if the owner is changed. I wanted to gate it so tightly that if the user who's making the change is a system admin, then go down the first path. If there's a way to do that.
So you're on the right path there by using the process builder criteria, but I think you're going to need to split up that criteria in process builder. If you're trying to look at if a system admin can do something versus someone else, is it new or not? Is something changed? Is it not? I don't think you're going to be able to cram that into a single formula of criteria, because then once it gets into flow, your ability to look at, was this changed, was this new, whatever, is gone.
Okay. Now I see. It's like a river flowing, and even if you put the waters channeled, it's still gonna flow.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
It. All right. So, but then, okay, that just made me think though, should I then make the branching here in the process builder?
You're gonna have to.
Got it.
I think as much as you can. Now, I don't remember what else you had in the flow that, yes, you're going to have to do branching in the process builder. Then your next goal is how much of your flow can you reuse? Like hopefully if you have 3 different decision paths, hopefully you don't have to build 3 different flows. Hopefully you can make this flow sustainable enough to then potentially like leverage a flow variable that the process builder, if you're in branch 1, branch 2, branch 3, and you say, go fire this flow, you can then say, take a value from the process builder, and populate a flow variable to then run your actions in the flow.
Okay. Can I in process builder then recognize who's making the change?
Should be able to.
Is that just user ID flat rather than tying it to the record that exists?
You want it, so let me make sure I understand.
Well, like say for example, there's only one way that I want it to go down the second path. It's only when a system admin is changing record owners in a mass way, which we always do in our job, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I want to then make these required fields flip to the right pattern.
Okay.
And I have that traced using a custom object. I know this is really, really complicated.
No, I mean, I get it. I mean, I get it. I think what you're going to have to do, if you haven't already, is open up a Visio or Lucidchart or a whiteboard or something, and just really map out where all the decision points are in what you're trying to do from start to end.
Okay.
And then from there, you're going to start to get the pieces of, okay, what becomes, what is on the record that's triggering this? What decisions do you need to make in process builder? what information is going to go from process builder to flow, and then what remaining logic is happening in the flow. I think because you're going to be using multiple tools, detail record, process builder, flow, to put all this together, you need something bigger from a process standpoint that puts all of it together before you can really go back into developing this.
Okay, okay. Now that you say that, I think since flow, you can't really put a lot of criteria to gate it. I better create 2 separate flows.
Right, which isn't ideal, but if things are that separate and distinct enough, then unfortunately, so be it. But
Okay. All right. Well, I think I'll play around with moving the decision step into the process builder, and then, yeah.
you're definitely on the right path, though. You're absolutely going in the right direction. You just got to split it out a little bit more, like your river. You're channeling the river analogy.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dale, we're at Christy with person accounts, and then let's see where else.
Sarah, I think was.
And then Stu with territory management, and then I think Josh has his hand up also after that. So Christy
with Sarah,
yep.
Then Josh. Yeah.
All right, I'm just going to drop that in our little chat because it is getting crowded in there.
Christy,
Okay.
person accounts.
Okay, so Wave 6 is in the sandbox and turning it on for those transactional customers, which you get, Dale. My interesting thing is I had to change from global public read write to inherited by parent, the contact object, to have Salesforce turn on person accounts. It was my understanding that if it's inherited by parent, it no longer has an owner, yet I'm still seeing an owner field on contact records, so I was confused.
No, inherited it. The only time you're ever going to lose an owner field is with a master detail relationship, which is where person account,
okay.
where if it's a person account, you can't have a contact without an account, but that also then implies you still have business accounts where you could have orphaned contacts, therefore you can't have master detail.
Okay, so I was mixing up in my head the master detail versus the sharing rule of inherited by parent, because sometimes they seem connected. Okay, cool. Thank you. I was like, why is there still an owner on this?
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's one of those things that I'm going to guess found documentation that explained that. It was written by the technical developer of it. So help us explain it in business.
Yeah.
Let us help explain it in business speak.
I told you it was a quick question. I just thought, okay, I'm missing something. It's Friday. I'm going to ask.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a good one though, because I mean, I'm talking to a client about person accounts right now, actually, and like there's a whole set of questions that should be asked. Like it feels like a small change, but there's a major impact to it. One of which being you can't turn it off once you turn it on, but security and org-wide defaults and where's the data, what does it mean, blah blah blah. So yeah, no, it's a great question.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got Stu.
Yeah, I think I answered my question on my own while I was waiting. So I don't know if you actually want to hear my question or we'll just go on to the next person.
You never know when it might help somebody.
Oh, let's hear it, Stu.
Well, a few weeks ago, I asked some questions about enterprise territory management, and so you all set me on my way to start to use that. What I didn't know, because I was a first timer with that particular feature of the product, was that what I wanted to do was to change the owner of the account based on the territory that it was in. However, you can't do that because an account could be in multiple territories. It could be in overlapping territories. And there was really no good way to automate the assignment of ownership based on territory. So I was kind of racking my brain. I was going to ask if anyone in the group has ever tried to do that before or created any sort of automation around putting the name of the territory owner into the account somehow. And in looking at the related list for the territory, I don't even see the name of the territory owner in there. There's not much exposed. So what I'm trying to do now, I've rethought my whole process, and I'm going to use custom metadata types to figure out, I'm going to build custom metadata types to figure out my account owner process of who should own new business accounts versus existing business accounts, how the territories will line up, and then create automation to look at that custom metadata type and then assign ownership through that.
Stuart,
Yeah.
so reach out to me afterwards. I don't have all the answers, but Josh Eliason at my company, they have put on the account record the name of the territory owner, because usually there's a main person. It's just complicated. That's why they're doing that territory wise. But I know that Josh said he's updated it where that's going to push into who the account owner is. So happy to have Josh share next week if you have 20 minutes, because then I can learn what the heck he was doing too.
All right.
Could I ask Stuart, just a quick question? Are the territories owned by teams so big that you can't just manually assign them? Users, manually assign users, because that then could map. I was thinking about that idea of us, right now we parse by account teams. And I was thinking about territory management because the roll-ups is very kind of interesting. And I was going to build territories by persons rather than, and just call them names according to, but unless you have it like, because it's demographics based.
Yeah, the scenario we have is we have one set of sales reps that only work with new business, and they have their own set of territory maps. And then once that account actually gets a closed won opportunity, then they become existing business, and that gets handed to a whole different set of inside client relationship managers, and they have their own set of territory maps that are different than the first set of territory maps. So there's a handoff process that goes there based on what type of account it is, if they have business. And so it's not that there's sales teams necessarily, it's just how they treat those clients based on the life cycle of the client itself.
All right, so that's where we're at, huh?
That's where we're at. So now I'm going from one thing that I haven't worked a whole lot into to another thing that I haven't worked a whole lot into, but I'm learning. I'm constantly learning, and that is a good thing.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. All right, so that's where we are for now, and so we'll come back to you, Stu, when you've got more. Right. All right, Sarah, what do you have for us?
All right, so this is primarily coming from a desire of showing some data in an experience, a Salesforce experience, aka community, for those of you who haven't seen the latest name change.
Sorry.
Yeah, right. So I have a Salesforce community. Right now, we haven't exposed a lot of information to external users, either through the user menu, like the profile menu, or through record detail pages. And there's some information there's an expiration date for people's memberships that resides on a user's contact record. And I'm wondering if it's possible to either, in my ideal world, I would push it to their user records so that I could show it to them in their user profile menu, as opposed to having them have to go to a contact detail where they could see it. But I know that contacts and users mixed DML errors abide there, and I was wondering if people had suggestions of how I should go about doing that.
I guess what errors are you actually getting in the transfer of that information?
It's mostly, I haven't tried it yet, so it could
Gotcha.
be possible that it would be fine, but I know that like when I've tried previously to have things like have a flow or a process builder update, both, I guess if they're updating, they're like getting the contact and then trying to update the user, it's like I can't do both. but maybe it should be fine.
It should be fine. I think
Okay.
only because it sounds so relatively simplistic that the only thing that could trip it up is anything else you have running in your org that might not be community related or contact. But once you say, all right, we're in order of operations, DML land, that then it goes crashing into something. As a standalone thing, it's, that's easy.
No big deal.
Especially knowing that, I should know this working for a consultant company that specializes in community cloud. There's definitely a native contact ID field on the user record. I'm trying to remember if there's one the other way around, but if you're running it from user and you know the contact ID, that's easy peasy to leverage and just go from there.
Yeah, maybe the problem in the past has been that we have some other automation that it all gets triggered together and it's like, oh, I can't do everything in the same interview or whatever it is. So
right. The only other thing to be mindful of potentially is if you are going from user to contact, because everything's updated based on your user attributes, obviously, is if that community user doesn't have any kind of CRUD or field level security permission to the contact object, does there need to be some kind of a handoff with a line of code that switches out the permissions just really quickly? Does it have to be in real time, or also is it something that can maybe be batched, like off hours or anything like that?
Yeah, it could probably be a scheduled, like once a night daily transfer or something like that. Yeah. Okay, cool. It was just an idea that came to me actually while I was on this call. So I was like, oh, I should ask about this because I'm not sure, but sounds like it'll work. That's great.
Well, that's a great use case right there, because you're implementing community self-management. You're actually taking the burden off of a person to have to do it. So that's great.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'll give it a shot and I'll let you know how it goes.
Sweet.
All right. We did have one quick question for Raji. Is your article only for record triggered flows, from Christy? You can answer that in the chat, Raji, if you have a chance. And then Josh, you're up.
You can put your arm down.
Can
you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Josh.
Let me get my video going here. All right, can you see me now? Okay.
We can see some wild stuff going on. Yeah, you got a great background.
Yeah, it's from the KISS End of the Road tour.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my question. So I'm kind of new here.
Yes.
I think this is my second call. I have a synchronizer app that I built that synchronizes with some other CRMs, like for political progressive people. And I was looking into like having it put in, the possibility of having it put in the what's called the App Exchange store. So it's listed. It's a OAuth app, and one of the things that this is perhaps a silly question or beginner question, like trying to find the right tutorial of like, okay, like what do I need to do to like meet whatever security criteria, like a checklist to have it like the OAuth, if there's a review, and then what's the difference between like joining the what's it called,
the App Exchange?
Well, yeah, what I can't tell the difference is there's this partner program, which talks about a lot of big things like partnership stuff wise. And is that the same thing as like just to get put in the App Store? I'm not all that familiar with the Salesforce community, so.
Sure. Have you looked at Trailhead under the App Exchange basics and gone through those as a starting point? There's a couple of badges that talk about how the App Exchange extends Salesforce, and I don't know how much information there is about. There is also a module on App Exchange app development, which will most likely have some resources for you. And then there's another trail called Build Apps as an App Exchange Partner. Let me grab that link and I'll drop it in the chat for you.
Okay. Yeah. I've I built the app, it runs, and I went through a bunch of those things, but what I just couldn't find is like, what is the right way to like have the OAuth like, I talked to someone at a, this is like just before COVID. What was it? Like, you had those Salesforce on the road tours.
The world
Mhm.
tours, yeah.
Yeah. I talked to someone there and he said that like there's this security review or something. Yeah, like there's just a lot of information that's hard to sort through.
So there's, I'm trying to think, there's, are you a member of the Salesforce community, on the success community? Because I believe there is an AppExchange community group, but I could be very wrong. Also, let's see.
If you like, I can share my screen and we can drive together.
Sure, go ahead. Let's see what you want to show us.
Well, I was thinking more like you tell me what to click, but
we can do that. But in does anyone else on the call have experience with AppExchange as a owner of an app as opposed to a user of an app? I worked with a client recently that was an app that has an app on the AppExchange, and I learned a lot. And so I don't know everything I would like to answer for you, but this is where I would start looking for information on the AppExchange about, who can use it. And I think if you do like AppExchange security review in the community.
When you say community, is that like a group? Is that like a technical thing? Like a
Yeah. So Dale, it's what, trailblazers.salesforce.com, right, Stu?
Or if you click on that last link that I put in the chat.
Okay.
Partners.salesforce.
Yeah, that'll take you right to the page where they talk about the AppExchange partners.
Okay, let me find the chat window.
The other thing too is there's once you are a partner, a whole partner community separate from the Salesforce community, and they help with everything. Like,
Yes.
obviously we have.
Am I like in the wrong room?
No,
you're fine.
In the right room. You are. Good. I was laughing a few minutes ago because welcome to the kludgy mess that is.
No, there's a lot of vague chaos and whatnot. I just talked to a very good friend of mine who started his own consulting partner business, which is a little bit different than an AppExchange partner, but still on the same track. And I asked him, what did you do to become a Salesforce partner? And he said, well, you have to have $1,000 to start your membership into the partner program. And then you have to do there's some requirements that the partner program has you do to register. And you have to do there's some trailheads, I think, that they required him to do to, know that you understand what the partner program is. But they do have a checklist. Like once you actually register and give them your money to be a registered partner, then they'll give you the checklist. So while we don't have that checklist of what you have to do to register your AppExchange app, Salesforce will give that to you once you give you your money and register as that partner name. And this page is going to kind of give you that starting point of what do I need to know? All of the resources and links on this page is kind of that starting point.
Okay.
So this is the right place. Well, we might not have the answers. We can get you in the right direction. And
your portal.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Does that help you out then, Josh?
Yeah. Okay. So I will, I'll tell you, I'm going to work through this. And then if I have a question, I'll follow up.
All right. Well, we're here like twice a month. So thanks so much, Josh.
Okay.
Good luck with that. All right. And you said, Dale, we have Christy and Marty next.
Marty up and Christy. Yep.
Oh, exciting. Okay. So this has to do with approvals. So have an opportunity. We created an approval for the VP to approve the opportunity. Then they decided they wanted an interim approval, and users get a record locked because when it was approved the first time, the Salesforce assumes that you don't want anyone to change the approval change the opportunity. So the question is, in between that kind of first approval and the final VP approval, the record is locked. Any way to allow, I'll call them standard sales users, to make changes? And I've seen something that has like a edit. Yep, go ahead.
Off the top of my head, you could do a workaround of sorts that puts a checkbox and some validation rules in place instead of using the record lock. However, you know, you're rebuilding things. Are your people that slow with approving?
So
yes.
It's like I'm the
How
you
can
know,
we
contract consultant. So
right. So is there a way that we can help help the folks that are the bottleneck not be a bottleneck? Like what can we
so
do?
they're not really, so good question. They're not really a bottleneck. It's that they want to have multiple approvals because there are things going on simultaneously. Sometimes these are very, very large opportunities that different people are working on different things. And I sort of didn't really want to use approvals because of all these issues, but that's what they wanted. So
what are they approving? Like
they're approving
dollar
different
value?
people. Yeah, different people are approving different things. So one quick workaround is just to say, make sure you've got the amount in there before you even start the approval process and then go on. So, and your checkbox solution is something I found, which is another potential. So that's
we created a status field for approval that the users can't manipulate, but it says when it's submitted, when it's in process, when it's approved or declined. But I'm thinking if you lift the record lock off the approval process and use a field like that to say, and then set validation rules. If it's in this status, this can't change, right? You could do it that way too. If you have multiple approvals in that process that allow for different things to be editable at different times of the steps. I would maybe suggest doing something like that.
And we do have multiple stages that have validation already. So that's a good one. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
My other thing is to, you know, if it's allowed with security, is to allow them to, you know, was it respond with approve or reject on the email notifications to reduce the like the bottleneck. I know some of the higher ups are not as in Salesforce as they need to be when it comes to approvals. And so if they can respond to the email with approve and reject based on the information that they've gotten from that email notification, it can widen that bottleneck.
We also did a scheduled flow that runs once a day, and anything still in approval, it just puts a chat message out. Say, hey, this is still waiting on you.
Oh, yeah.
Like, hey.
Here I am lighting a fire under your bottom. Let's go.
Yeah, to put what Joyce said a couple of minutes ago a different way, executives aren't in Salesforce as much as might be assumed based on the investment they made to implement Salesforce.
No, this one is, he's like the champion. So I feel
ours live and breathe in there and they still let it go.
No.
It's just it's a different perspective. And so anything you can do to make it easier for the executives to move things forward faster reduces the need for obviously for users to be manipulating while it's locked. I've had approvals that go through in 5 minutes versus approvals that would take 5 days if they didn't have the ease of use. So, you know, there's just different ways to make it easier. All right. So are you all set then, Marty?
Yes,
with
thank you very much.
ideas? Fantastic.
Yep.
And then Christy, you had another question.
Yes, it was one that I had when I thought you guys were on Friday and I had a list from last time. We have what's called a guided sale flow that if someone leaves a voicemail and leaves a business card, 2 hours later, it sends an email, sorry, I missed you, and it gives them a new task to do in 3 days. We have Einstein Activity Capture as well. That email that comes out of Flow isn't showing up at all. It's not showing up in their Outlook. It's not showing up as a record either. It's just not showing up. It's a ghost.
Because it's internal. internal emails don't always go in Einstein Activity Capture.
You
It
would
might
think it would
be
show up in the
Skip.
sent from Outlook if that's what they have. I was just curious if that's.
Check
Yeah.
check your settings. You might be excluding internal emails to internal users.
And
Excluding. I didn't think we were, but I will check that.
well, and Christy, also knowing your company's current situation with email domains going from left to right and up and down and back again, make sure everything, all the unique domains that you have are all considered internal or not.
Okay, you know what? That makes sense that you say that now, because for Einstein Activity Capture, it says exclude the certain domains if it's that, because you don't want the manager
Yep.
to retrieve. However, I kind of thought it was going to show up on people's sent from Outlook on that side, but
Right.
it's just nowhere. So I was just curious about that.
Yeah,
Thank
good
you.
call, Marty. Good call. Me and Einstein, we
Been
weren't
there, yeah.
friends.
Yeah,
We weren't friends. Me and Activity Capture.
Me neither.
I mean, the possibilities are amazing, but then when you look at like the volume and you understand why there's the limitations, it's like, oh. So,
I heard with Einstein Activity Capture in spring, at least it's going to start syncing internal meetings only rather than
Interesting.
excluding them. So I'm looking forward to that, because the number of people who say that one didn't come over for my team meeting, and I'm like, because you didn't invite a customer. Invite yourself with your personal email is what I told.
yeah, I don't know. Oh man. All right. Do we have any other questions out there in Chatterland? Any hands up? How are we doing?
Can I ask one other approval process question? One person was getting the message, no applicable approval process was found.
They weren't
When-
getting into they didn't have the right criteria when they click the approve button.
Yeah, so, and when I went in as them, log in as, I was fine. So,
well, I wonder if there was any changes to
well, I have to go back.
their
and check,
record
but-
after they sent you that message, but
Yeah, I'm confirming, yeah, it's not a user profile thing.
so I will tell you what I've done in the past. When a record reaches all of its approval criteria, like everything that you need to get through, I had a status that would change, like, and tell you that it's ready for approval. It's ready to pass into approval land. And like Gina was talking about earlier about different approval stages.
Yep.
And so it's like, and if you try to submit before it gets to that ready for approvals, they got like an error message that says you're missing a whole boatload of fields to move into approval land. No. And so like we would stop it instead of this very vague, no approval process available.
Good idea. Yeah.
It can be a little bit convoluted, and depending on how big and how many different approval processes you have, it can be very difficult. But
We did a screen flow actually to submit. So we did a screen flow that showed them the fields that were required to submit for approval.
fantastic. I
And
love that
say-
better.
And then it walked them through, like, you forgot this. And then when you get here, what's the billing information, da, da, da. And then at the end, it allowed them to submit instead of using that submit button on the
Well,
application.
so I guess I wanted to ask earlier, and maybe I'll ask now, but Marty, have you gone to Visio, Lucidchart, Whiteboard? land
So
and
funny that you ask,
in the
because
right
I
order?
just said to them this morning when we were discussing this issue that we really need to document everything, all the changes we made, so that everybody understands all the pieces. So that will be my weekend task. I'm locked in the house anyway, so it's all right.
Okay.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Thank you. They did want to take the time, but we know how that goes.
Yeah.
And I just have to recreate the wheel out of my head every time.
Yeah, you document it it's your future favor to yourself, right?
Yeah,
What
exactly
documenting
right.
is.
Exactly.
And sometimes other people benefit from that. So we've got one more question, I think, from Todd. We have 4 minutes about user profile editing. Todd?
Hello, everyone. I hope this is an easy question. We're
Me
trying to find a way to prevent users from updating their own profiles. We have
Their
a
own profile.
process outside of Salesforce for updating address, phone numbers, and things like that for our sales reps.
Validation rule.
Okay, because well, here's the problem. I ran into what's happening is they're updating their addresses in Salesforce and expecting it to flow to the other systems, and those interfaces are not there yet. So then they come back and they go, well, I put it into Salesforce. Why isn't it in the directory? Why
You
didn't I
have
check
an
go to the wrong place?
MDM or ETLs, MuleSoft, anything going, like anything of anything, or is it all still yet to be done?
Long range plan, possibly. That's outside of my realm. I don't know where it is on the schedule.
Gotcha.
What if you expose fields that say you know, directory address, directory phone number, and then lock those?
Or hide them. I tried doing a validation.
No, don't
rule.
hide them. Make sure they're exposed so that they can't change them.
Well, I tried doing a validation rule to where only sysadmin profile can update. And we're testing engage, and engage through an error because it couldn't write to the user profile.
Can you update the help text on the fields?
What,
That
just
tells
get
your
out of here?
users, like changes to this field will not reflect in the directory?
Ooh, that's an idea.
Kate and Todd. Yeah. I'm trying to think. I had a question for you. Never mind.
I mean, at least you're getting it there.
Yeah, I was just unaware of everything that wrote to the user profile within the system.
Or if you had a validation rule that like any changes to it would say, if it was like non-system changes, like if user equals owner, user equals cell, I don't know. It is changed, like stop them, you know.
Now that we talk about it, I wonder if I could change the validation rule and base it on profiles.
Yeah, you can leverage the running user's profile. You can leverage any attribute of running users and work your way
Hey,
up.
Gina.
So reverse what I was doing, instead of excluding everyone but sysadmins.
Yeah.
only
Well, yeah. That's
exclude my user profiles. Exclude
right. Well,
sales rep profiles.
Yeah, and with validation rules, when you're already running in a negative tone, that definitely impact. Well, I mean, you think about it. The validation rule is saying if this, then don't.
Right.
It's try to minimize the burden on yourself. If not an admin profile, the profile of engage and whatever, then go ahead and fire it.
Okay.
Another thing that I've done also, depending on how wonky the logic might be, is I've used a formula checkbox field to say
On the user record, sure.
well, or wherever, or on the account
Mhm.
or contact or wherever, that formula is going to fire first, and that keeps you in the positive tone. If this, then that, and then your validation rule is if the box is checked or if it's not, then fire the validation rule.
I've used those elsewhere. They're so nice.
Yeah.
Those formulas.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think depending on how complex your logic is, you may want to, that may impact which path you go down. And if you have time Thursday before user group, I might be able to help you if you're still running into this next week.
Okay, I'll go play with it and see what I can figure out. Thank you for getting me down another path here.
All right, I like it.
I can stay on for a couple minutes. Sarah had mentioned possibly having another question.
Let's do it, Sarah.
Quick one, hopefully. Does anybody know if there's a way with the month formula in Salesforce to convert it into text aside from using a case, like wrapping it in a case? Is there like a way you can use I know like in Excel, you can say like specify that you want it to be in this format, but I was just wondering.
I've found, yeah, Excel is awesome for doing that. Salesforce, not too much.
All right, I'll use a case then.
What are you using that for?
Just taking a date and converting it from like, 1/1/21 to January 1st, 2021, just for display purposes.
Got it. Because I really like how the reports will group by dates, by month and everything now. And so it was curious about what the use case was, but it sounds like it's on a record. Yeah. You're just trying to translate that into like a more visibly pleasing format. So you don't have to worry about a European format versus a US format. It just is. And I wish there was a setting for a date on to display that. Like How do you want to display the date? Do you want to display it month, date, year?
It does.
Yeah.
So your locale dictates that.
Your locale, but how do you
No.
dictate?
No,
The user.
the user's locale. So if I put in, what's today? It's not January anymore. 2/5/21. If I put in 2/5/21 here in the United States being February 5th, 2021, and I have a user in Germany, or I have a user in Japan, or a user in England, it's going to render for them in their format based on if their locale is set properly. There are so many things when you when you start a Salesforce org, when you start creating new users, that so many people miss. And I should probably put a presentation together of all the things not doing that should be just on the user object.
Well, it's because like, how often do people implement? Honestly, like most Salesforce admins maybe implement once.
Yeah.
So any of us who are not in California in the Pacific time zone, go to your company information set. I can guarantee you your time zone is probably wrong, which is going to screw up all your users. You're in Pacific time. No, you're not.
Nope.
Yeah.
For sure.
And all
For
trickles
sure.
down from there. But
The fun of this too is this is displaying to external users as well. So that's fun. Who can self-register, of course.
Of course.
So you should be able to, damn it. No, there's a formula, isn't there?
No, I mean, there's a formula to strip out what's the month, what's the day, what's the year, but there's nothing that then renders 2 as February, 12 as December without doing a case or an if or anything like that. Not like, I mean, in Excel, you can format your cells to say, detect the date and show as whatever, but not-
Or the text formula, you can say, give me, change this to this kind of text. But okay, I didn't think so. I was just, before I went and wrote a case formula, which is not so bad for 12 months, but.
No,
it's out there too. You can copy and paste it. You don't have to rewrite it.
Right.
I could probably copy and paste it for my own org.
It's just the way to do that is so heavy on the compiler on the formula engine that you're like, it's like, come on, these are the easy things Salesforce should be doing. Come on.
Yeah. Put it on the idea exchange.
I was going to say there might be out there and we can all vote it up. So if you find it, we'll
prioritize.
Hit it on. Yeah, we'll hit it. Does anyone else have anything? That was a good question, Sarah. Everybody saying bye. Bye. Bye.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Stay safe. We
Thanks
love
all.
you.
Yeah, stay warm. It was
Happy Super Bowl.
It was 10 degrees here this morning. I'm just glad it's 14 now.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Have a
Bye.
great weekend.
Bye, everybody.